So this fight, this to me is like loser leaves town. The winner pursues their career, goes forward. They need a big win. The loser, though, leaves them really, really out in the cold.
It is time for Boxing Scene's top stories only on ProBox TV, your boxing channel. I am George DeMatteis. Quick reminder to download the ProBox TV app where apps are available. You get the full ProBox TV experience, which includes the fantastic insights of our world champions. We have Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi joining us here on Top Stories. Well, Golden Boy Promotions unveiled the fighters that will make up its Latino Night on November 16th in Saudi Arabia. Now, the main event features a cruiserweight unification bout between WBO champion Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez versus WBO champion England's Chris Billam-Smith. Also, the highly anticipated super lightweight bout between former unified champion Jose Ramirez and unbeaten Arnold Barboza Jr. and top-ranked lightweight contender William Camarón Cepeda will face former super featherweight champion Tevin Farmer in what could be seen as a tune-up for Cepeda ahead of his title fight against Shakur Stevenson, set to take place or scheduled to take place in early 2025. And Oscar Duarte squares up against Kenneth Sims in a 140-pound bout. All right, Chris, which is the best matchup and which fight is the most meaningful?
Man, this is actually a really good card, top to bottom. It's a lot of good fights, a lot of boxing purist fights, guys who really follow the sweet science. I think, for me, I really like that Duarte-Sims fight. I know that's going to go under the radar for a lot of people, but Duarte has looked really tough his last couple fights, shown to be very, very strong. And Sims is just, man, I got to call him when he beat Elvis Rodriguez. I mean, he can really box, and he's very clever in there. So I really want to see how that puncher and clever boxing style matches up, and who can make their style be victorious that night. But in terms of what's the most important, the Zurdo Ramirez Billam-Smith fight is an important fight for the cruiserweight division. I think the winner of that fight has the opportunity to take over the division. Even though cruiserweight often gets overlooked, I think it's actually in a bit of a heyday right now. And I really like the way Zurdo looks at cruiserweight. I actually like him better at cruiser than I did at light heavy. He's a big guy, walks around, gains a lot of weight in between fights. So I think cruiserweight actually fits him better. But this is an interesting matchup. I like the way that Zurdo has been performing at the new weight.
Yeah, I like this fight. I like this fight a lot. As far as, I gotta say though, why is this called Latino Night? This is no different of a card than anybody else. It's not like Latinos was fighting Latinos, like the old top-ranked Latin Fury pay-per-views where it was Latinos against Latinos, and it had a big Latino zest to it and all this other stuff. This is such a clickbait Latino night. This is just like any other night in boxing where there are a lot of Latino fighters and they fight, sometimes each other, sometimes other guys. There's not one Latino fighter fighting another Latino fighter on this card. So the fact that it's called Latin Night, I have no idea why. But I do like the fight. I do like the card, and I like the main event. Champ, I agree with you. The cruiserweight division's in a fun moment right now. There's a lot of different directions it can go. Some good styles, some good fights, and so I think Zurdo and Billam-Smith is a really fun fight, and there's potential other good fights at cruiserweight for the winner. Usually, you get a big win at cruiserweight, and you're thinking, okay, is this guy going to go to heavyweight? But actually, the cruiserweight division is so fun right now that you get a win at cruiserweight even in this kind of fight, and you can. And you can get to the winner of some other big cruiserweight matchups. With Cepeda against Farmer, it seems like it's more preparation for the bigger fights in the lightweight division. You got Farmer, who's an ex-world champion, who's a savvy, crafty veteran. He's a good fighter. He still has, I wouldn't say a lot left, but he's got enough to show us where Zepeda's at. And I think in a weight class where the top two dogs, Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis, are both very good southpaw fighters and champions, I think Tevin Farmer, being a little bit of a faded ex-world champion who also was a crafty southpaw, is a good matchup in terms of showing us exactly how we can keep gauging Zepeda in this weight class. I don't necessarily think he's going to fight Shakur Stevenson early next year. I think that's just boxing trash talk, and boxing loves giving you blue balls, and that's going to be the next blue balls on the horizon for boxing. Maybe we'll get Zepeda and Shakur maybe late next year. I doubt we'll get it early next year, but I'd love to be wrong for once. And And then, the rest of the card in general. I like that Barboza and Ramirez fight, actually.
Yeah.
And that's two Latinos, right? I mean, Barboza is is an American guy, but nonetheless, they were giving it more Latino heat, right? Barboza and Ramirez. And I kind of like this fight. I like this fight because Barboza is a guy who's been a good fighter but hasn't gotten that big crack at the big time yet, but has been relatively impressive. At times, not so much, but he's always been hanging around right there and has shown good quality when he's fighting at his best. And Ramirez has been to the top of the mountain at this weight class. He's been in some of the big fights in this weight class. And, there's a theory that may be past his prime, but we really haven't totally seen that yet. So I think this is a good matchup to show us exactly where these guys are at and in which direction they're both going to go. So a good card. I like it. I'm a fan of it, as I am a lot of these Riyadh fight cards. But the fact that it's called Latino Night, I have no idea why. It makes no sense to me.
Champ, you mentioned the Barboza and Ramirez fight. It's a bit of a loser leaves town kind of matchup, no?
Yeah.
Because both guys have been kind of forgotten about. Ramirez, obviously, like you said, he's been there, he's been a world champion, but he falls under the radar, slips between the cracks of 140, which I think is unfortunate because I think he's a fantastic fighter. And then you got Barboza, who just never was able to cross that line, never able to get to that position where it's like, all right, now he gets that big fight, now he gets this title shot. He looked abysmal in his last performance when he fought on the undercard of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, which made it even easier to forget about him. So this fight, this to me is like loser leaves town. The winner pursues their career, goes forward. They need a big win. The loser, though, leaves them really, really out in the cold.
Yeah, and leaves them wondering, which direction they're going to go to next. Sort of like my earpiece when I'm recording right now. That it's going to wonder where it's going after we get done recording because it's always popping out of my ear.
Well, so you look at the matchups there, it might be Latino versus Gringo night, the way some of the matchups are there. I want to talk about the location there, Paulie, because it's Latino night, but they're having it in Saudi Arabia. And the Latinos mentioned there are either Mexican or of Mexican descent. Wouldn't it have been better to stage this card on November 16th in Los Angeles?
Possibly. I don't mind the fights being in Riyadh, as long as the fights are good. I understand that we get a better atmosphere in terms of other places. If it was Latino versus Latino, I'll tell you, you know what? I'd say, yeah, you'd probably get a much more vociferous, loud, crazy atmosphere if it was in L.A., if it was Latino versus Latino fights, But the whole Latino Night name to this card is just clickbait. This is not a Latino card. This is a card just like any card in boxing, which is, has some pretty good fights on it. It's a card we're going to like as boxing fans. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to get excited about it. But I don't think when I look at these matchups like, oh, they're doing a Latino fight. Whoa, this is someone. No, I just look at, oh, nice matchups. I'm going to watch. And that's how I look at it. I think Latino Night is just a clickbait.
Chris, what do you make of this fight card being in Saudi Arabia as opposed to L.A.?
Well, I mean, you don't go to Riyadh or go to Saudi, for the atmosphere. You go for the money. So these fighters are going for the pay, and it's getting some good paydays for guys that haven't even been able to reach that or reaching that once again, and it's been a while. A guy like Tevin Farmer, who's been to the mountaintop. A guy like Ramirez, who's been to the mountaintop. But hasn't been as of late, hasn't been making big money lately. They're gonna make some good money in the card. But in terms of where it is, I don't really care. I'm gonna watch it from my couch either way, and it's gonna be entertaining. I like these matchups, top to bottom. Yeah, I agree with you, Champ, in terms of the Latino night. I just hope that means that doesn't mean that we're just gonna rob the other guys. That only Latinos are gonna win.
How many times have we gone and watched fights in Riyadh where it's all Europeans because it's a matchroom card? Do we call it European night? No, dude. It's just a good boxing card. So I don't understand why the reach has to be called Latino night when it's not.
Yeah, interesting there. Latino night, by the way, on November 16th will be the first event of Riyadh season to be broadcast free to boxing fans worldwide. DAZN will stream the major fight night globally for free. And of course, we will have fallout and discuss the results from Latino night here on Top Stories. And don't forget to scan the QR code, like, subscribe, leave your comments here on our YouTube channel. And remember that the best live fight series in all of boxing continues October 9th, less than a week away from Wednesday Night Fights here on ProBox TV. Your boxing channel is going to be quite an event for sure. Next Wednesday, October 9th here on your boxing channel. I'm George DeMatteis, and this is Boxing Scene's Top Stories.
Wednesday Night Fights.
Dynamite action on Wednesday Night Fights every other Wednesday on your boxing channel.
Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, October 9th. Chris, Primetime Colbert, and Omar Super Salcido step into the ring for what is sure to be a barn burner. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at proboxtv.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.